What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. In today's video, we're going to be covering this article here posted by one of Plarium's admins on their official Plarium forums, and it's called Raid's Golden Rules. So apparently they had a discussion with some seasoned veterans, and they compiled a list of rules for the Raid community. Now, I did go over them very briefly, and I gotta say that there is some eyebrow-raising ones, so I wanted to cover them here in this video. Now, some of the advice in this article is actually, mostly catered towards newer players. I can appreciate that Raid is actually putting out this type of content because it does help newer players find information on how to start the game properly. Now, with that all being said, I am viewing these rules as a 6+ year veteran of this game, playing this game free to play and all that stuff. So I have been grinding this game significantly for many years. So I do have my own take on all this, and it might not be the same as everybody else's, but I'm going to give my opinion on these rules here. So I'm going to put that on the screen right now. And we'll have a read through. So here we go. Raid's Golden Rules. Let's have a read through this. Our community is full of seasoned veterans and newcomers alike, so we task some of our long-term players with sharing their best advice. It's interesting. I wonder who they actually spoke to about this. I would imagine it's just the devs. They are long-term seasoned players, of course, and they gathered a bunch of the rules. So here it is. Let's start with number 1. If you're only just beginning, pick Kale as your starter. If you're lucky with the summons, keep Rector, Draft, Geomancer. Yes, those are good epics. They carry you through almost anything. Shield Guard, Bellower, Apothecary, Paragon, Cold Heart, and Allure, all extreme value as well, and will serve you a very long time, so you don't sacrifice them. So, of course, they're going to highlight some rare champions here just to make it a little bit more accessible for more players. Now, most of these champions are not going to have longevity for your account, and if you're going to fully max them out, it might be a detriment, or you won't realize their value fully. At least for a while. For example, somebody like Shield Guard, I think it's pretty much garbage. And if you're going to 60 fully master a Shield Guard out for whatever content, you probably don't need him anymore, or you have a better champion. Somebody like Paragon, Apothecary, you probably can find some use for them. They'll be useful, but obviously 60ing them first thing is going to probably be a detriment to your account because there's just so many stronger champions nowadays that you want to focus your first resources on. Now, somebody like Bellower does get some pretty good value, in a lot of different areas. You can use them in a stun set for faction wars, Doom Tower waves. You could use them as a campaign farmer, so you won't lose too much value from 60ing a Bellower. Just an example, but you really want to target champions that have multiple uses, especially early on. So somebody like Bellower can be your campaign farmer, AoE stun target, can be even damage. He might actually be a good candidate. Now, Cold Heart, we all know Cold Heart's the best rare champion in the game. I think nobody can really disagree with that. You just get lots of long-term value from that. Now, I want to touch upon Kale as a starter. Kale is the best starter, but that doesn't really mean much of the starters. Most of the starters are just not going to age well nowadays in 2026. And the reason why Kale stands out is because Kale actually packs on poisons, and poisons are the best damage for an account that has really bad gear, especially in the beginning, against bosses, specifically the clan boss. So Kale's going to do the most damage against clan boss. Personally speaking, I do like Elhain a little bit more because she does bring double AoEs, and Elhain seems to have the most long-term value because you'll be using her perhaps in some rare secret rooms later on in your Doom Tower progress. Whereas Kale, I think, just falls off basically completely. But Elhain has the longest value. But in the beginning, Kale is definitely the best. Now, that, like I said, that doesn't mean that you should fully invest in your Kale, because like I said, in 2026, these rare starter champions are just not going to age very well, especially since there are new promo codes nowadays with legendary champions attached to them. So perhaps investing in those legendary champions are going to be way better. For example, like Wukong, Tholin, those are really strong damage dealers to start off the game with. So that's something to keep in mind here. Let's move to number 2. We actually talked about number 1 quite a bit, but let's move to number 2. It might seem obvious, but it's actually easy to miss at first. The best XP brew to level up a champion is the one that matches your affinity. Yes, that makes sense, guys. Don't lose the efficiency by using the wrong color brews on the wrong color affinity, of course. You want to avoid that. Number 3, always keep uncommons and rares in your vault after reaching their first level cap. They'll be useful for events and need other champions as you'll run out of chickens very quickly. Yes, it's always a good idea to keep excess food. I actually buy uncommons from the market constantly because I don't want to open shards for uncommons. So I constantly look for uncommons in the market to buy. Silver is not an issue for me, but in the beginning, you probably don't have that luxury to buy uncommons. So definitely don't go all in on that strategy unless you have a lot of silver laying around. Number 4, don't forget your daily quest and raid the Spider's Den for dungeon for silver. Sorry. Daily quests, yes, definitely do your daily quests. It's just a bunch of freebies. They're relatively easy. The advanced quests are a little bit more difficult, a little bit more time consuming depending where you are on your account. So definitely be careful with those ones. But you want to do as much as you can in terms of getting the free stuff. But it's all going to depend on how much time you have in the game. Quick comment here about the Spider's Den for silver. In the beginning, you probably don't want to focus on Spider's Den just for silver. You mainly want to be farming areas of the game that also provide you silver. Like, for example, farming a dungeon that gives you gear that you really need. For example, speed gear, for example, right? And then you can sell off whatever other gear for silver as well. The other big thing is just doing, efficient silver levels for your leveling, like your training. So do 12-3. 12-3 is going to give you shields, going to give you a little bit more silver than doing any other stage, for example. Also doing your Minotaur runs, right? Don't pay the gems to fully get the scrolls for a champion. Instead, do the Minotaur runs. It's going to save you energy. It's going to give you a lot of silver back, about 1,000,000 silver per champion that you max out with the scrolls. But yeah, just being basically efficient with silver can go a long way. If you are forced to farm the Spider's Dungeon just for silver and then selling off all the accessories, I don't really like that strategy unless you really, really need it, or if you're in the super end game where you can farm the highest levels of spider for silver and then still be able to keep some of the accessories. But if you have to farm a spider level where you're just throwing away all the accessories for silver, it just doesn't feel great. Just doesn't feel great for your general progress. So being a little bit more mindful with how you use silver goes a long way here, so you don't have to resort to going into Spider's Den and just farming accessories and throwing them away for silver. Number 5, start working on Classic Arena early on. Upgrading affinity bonuses and Great Halls will speed up many missions later on in the game. Don't sacrifice rare champions until you fill out your faction guardians. Yeah, those are good tips here. So make sure you work on your Classic Arena. Do whatever you can. At least do whatever you need for the dailies. You need 5, and then obviously do as much as you can based on the amount of time you have. It's really, really important. You can't buy your progress through the Great Hall. Unfortunately, it just takes time. So it's better to spread out time over many days than trying to grind it out in shorter time. With like gems or something like that. But you just want to spread it out like over time. It takes about 2 years to max out your Great Hall. Just to keep in mind, if you're like just basically doing everything you can every day without having to spend gems, that is. Don't sacrifice rare champions until you have your faction guardians filled out. Generally speaking, that's okay in the beginning if you really are using your rare champions. But later on, you basically just sacrifice your rare champions off. They don't really give a huge benefit, and then you don't really use rares later on as well. There's a bunch of tips here, and actually number 5, epic champions with the correct masteries will do a bunch of damage to Demon Lord. Yes, epic champions are very good. Make sure you look out for that. Speed is king. Speed is a great stat basically on anybody, unless you have very specific applications. So definitely speed is very important. Speed boots, guys. Use speed boots, especially in the beginning. Never neglect it. Keep all speed enhancing boots. Yes, they mention it here. Energy is limited, so try to save refills for days when you take advantage of multiple tournaments and events. Yes, inbox energy, you can store it in your inbox until you need it, guys. So don't use it right away if you can help it. You guys can also let energy expire from events, and those energies will go to your inbox as well, I believe for a week before they fully expire. So don't worry about using them right away. When the events expire or the tournaments expire, they will go to your inbox. All right, number 6. So arena teams. Arena teams need 3 things: speed, 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 more speed on top. Don't ever use legendary champions as a rank up sacrifice. Don't ever use high rarity skill tomes on lower rarity champions. So pretty good advice there. Don't sacrifice the efficiency of basically using higher level books for lower level champions. Never do that. Speed, again, very important for the arena. And personally speaking, never sacrifice legendary champions for a rank up, especially if you're just starting out. Yes, it's easier to, just have a 5-star chicken, ready to go, and you're not using the legendary or whatever. But in the long run, that legendary could be useful again one day. And it's also half of a faction guardian bonus for you. So you might pull a duplicate and then it's going to give your faction a bonus. So personally speaking, just stay away from sacrificing any legendary if you can help it. All right, new players should always prioritize the Doom Tower after clan boss battles. If you can clear every rotation, you'll be guaranteed 2 sacred shards and a legendary book. That's only from hard Doom Tower, by the way. And a lot of energy and gems on top of that. Champion fragments are useful in future events and fusions, and through progress may be slow. It offers high value rewards. That is true. That is all true. However, it's hard Doom Tower. Not everybody will be able to clear hard Doom Tower. It's going to take you a long time to do that. It's just going to take you a long time. You need developed rosters. You need good gear. You need good stats. But 100% agree that Doom Towers should be tackled consistently so you can pick up some of the freebies. Even if you just do the normal Doom Tower, you're going to pick up some Void Shards along the way. So make sure you don't neglect that. Also, keep in mind that when you defeat the Doom Tower bosses, you're going to get some crafting materials. And crafting materials will equal gear, and gear will be important when you're starting out in the game. And obviously, you'll take any kind of chance at gear that you can, especially when you're starting off in the game. And it also gives you silver. So when you craft it, you get silver. You can sell it off. It helps. It helps, right? It also gives you CVC points as well. So Doom Tower definitely worth putting your effort in. Number 8, take your time to learn and understand advanced game mechanics as you progress through raid. You don't need to spend hours watching video guides. A bit of reading, observation, trial, and error will get you where you need to be eventually. Remember, you can't brute force through everything in the game. Yeah, that totally makes sense, right? Totally makes sense. Make sure you understand the mechanics of the content that you're playing against. And it goes a long way, right? It goes a long way. But at the end of the day, it takes time. It takes time and the willingness to kind of learn and, just get more out of the game. Some people just want it to be full auto, just brute force everything. Don't have to think about it. And that makes sense too. And that's perfectly fine. Number 9, Spider's Den is best played for farming silver. Dragon's Lair is best for farming speed artifacts. Never use epics as rank up sacrifice. So they have these extra notes just sprinkled everywhere. Use chickens instead. Use your vaults. Don't forget to check your mission progress and complete them. Most importantly, play for fun. We already commented on Spider's Den for silver. Personally speaking, I've never actually farmed spiders specifically for silver. I've never been in a situation where I needed to. And I don't, do spider excessively, especially for silver specifically. Dragon's Lair for speed artifacts, that totally makes sense. Don't sacrifice your epics if you can help it, especially early on in the game. A lot of epics will find value throughout the game. Use your vaults. Don't forget to check your mission progress. Yes. Now, this is a big one here. Don't forget to check your mission progress. This is kind of tough because there's a bunch of missions that require some planning. And if you're not aware of them, it's going to set you back significant amount of time. It's tough. It's the best thing you could probably do is probably look at the missions before you do anything big in the game. Like if you're planning to go for a big training session or a big energy dump session for a dungeon, for example, maybe you're really interested in like 3x gear, 3x speed gear from Dragon, you're going to spend a bunch of gems. Just double check where you are in some of the missions. You might want to set yourself up to tackle certain missions while you're doing this big event for yourself. So just something to keep in mind here as a general advice. After that, number 10, prioritize the purchase of lifesteal and bloodthirst artifacts once you start seeing rank 6 legendary pieces in the market. Grab them for your strongest champions, preferably attackers with good AoE skills. I think this is not great advice, to be honest, because purchasing lifesteal and first of all, bloodthirst accessories. Bloodthirst is what you get from the Eternal Dragon. I don't think those show up in the market. Maybe they do. I don't know. I don't think they do, but maybe they do. But I don't even notice it at this point. But you're definitely not going to be able to spend that much silver to buy these pieces of gear. And then now you want to have 6-star legendary pieces, which are expensive. They're between 4 to 9 million per piece. So if you're in a position where you can afford to spend that, you're probably not going to spend that on lifesteal gear. Lifesteal it's a good set in the beginning when you don't have teams with more defined roles. So if you require healing on everybody and you don't have a dedicated healer, you don't have a reviver, you don't have a good support champion, then you want healing on everybody, and lifesteal is an option. Regeneration is also an option as well. We also have relics that can heal you now as well. So I think this is generally pretty bad advice because you're spending quite a bit of silver on a gear set that probably will get obsolete as soon as you pull your first reviver or first healing champion or your first champion with leech debuff. So yeah, it's something that's not going to age very well, to be honest. And you definitely don't want to put it on your strongest champions because your strongest champions should have sets that make them hit even harder. For example, ignore defense. So this sounds like a very early game kind of suggestion, but early game players are not going to be able to buy 6-star legendary pieces it's just not possible. And I think if you're new trying to follow that advice, I think you're just setting up your account for probably a huge setback. So definitely do not follow that advice. Number 11, if you struggle with the Fire Knight on hard mode, you'll need a team with Neldor, Rhineblade, and a duplicate of his. One Reviver, one champion with ally attack, and someone with HP burn attack. Neldor is pretty easy to get since he's an epic, and multi attacks with decreased speed works wonders against the Fire Knight. Now, I just have to double check if the hard Fire Knight suffered some kind of weird condition against HP burn, and I literally could not find anything. I don't think HP burn specifically is needed for hard Fire Knight. But yes, Neldor is a great champion for Fire Knight because he brings freezes, he brings decreased speed and all that. So he's really good for that. He also has multi-hits to bring down the shield. Generally, this advice is fine. Neldor, bring a duplicate to Neldor as a Reviver. You don't really need a Reviver if you just have good crowd control, good DPS. Because the main problem is actually fighting the boss and keeping the boss's shield down. One champion with ally attack and someone with HP burn attack. I don't really know the significance of the HP burn attack, so maybe that's just wrong. But it's generally okay advice. You need multi-hits, you need decreased speed, you need more hits going into the shield, which ally attack definitely helps. So generally okay advice, but hard Fire Knight mode is going to be very, very difficult, even with Neldor. But you don't necessarily need Neldor. You just need somebody like Neldor, or you need some of these attributes covered, right? These roles covered. Multi-hits, decreased speed, freezing. Creodan's a great one for a substitute for Neldor or a replacement. Number 12, build a good arena team and farm medals because upgrading your Great Hall is needed for some of the hard armored missions. Get to Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss difficulty as soon as possible. Save your gold bars from the tag team arena until you get a mission to spend 85k. Yes, there is a mission where you have to spend a bunch of gold bars, so definitely save them. That makes sense. I don't remember the exact amount that you have to save. 85k seems like quite a bit. Yeah, they talked about the Great Hall earlier already, so yeah, definitely work on your classic arena teams and farm Great Hall. Like I said, do them every day so that it's not, it just build the habit, right? Just build the habit. And then Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss difficulty, you definitely want to be tackling that. 4 key Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss difficulty to hit the top chest is better. It's going to be better, guys, than any other chest. Getting that one chest from Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss is significantly, it's going to give you better odds than at getting the Sacred Shard and Legendary Book. So definitely something to shoot for. And then what else? We got number 13 here. Don't make the mistake I made as a new player and don't sacrifice Legendary or Epic champions early in the game. I mean, they've repeated this advice a couple times already. So yes, don't sacrifice your higher ranked champions just because you don't have immediate use for them. That's good advice. 14, accuracy is an important stat as it's needed to reduce turn meter, land and extend debuffs, increase the cooldown, steal, remove buffs, throw. Some champions have skills that make these effects irresistible. Yes, accuracy is very important, especially if you have a champion that have a specific role that he needs to play on your team. If you don't have the necessary accuracy on that champion to fulfill the role that they're doing, that champion is basically doing nothing. So accuracy is very important and should be something that you guys should be aware of. Now, you guys can run, very tight on accuracy, which means you guys can run the bare minimum, but make sure you guys know exactly how much accuracy you need to tackle the content that you're actually playing against. That's very important. As you progress through the game, you'll have to increase your accuracy stats as well as your other stats, but accuracy stats so that you can actually land your debuffs or do what you need to do, right? So making sure that that champion still can fulfill their role at higher levels. Number 15, here's some late game advice regarding gear. Don't immediately get rid of pieces from valuable sets, such as just because of bad sets. I usually upgrade epics and legendaries to 8. If both roles get me some same substats, I upgrade to 12. If all 3 roles stacked, you can use the chaos ore to rework the gear piece. That's how I got some of my best ones. Now, I like this advice. I think it is a little bit more of a endgame mindset or late game mindset because you really want to use your chaos ores, especially in the beginning, on some of the best pieces or the rarest pieces. So you don't necessarily want to use your chaos ores on like a quad, frost set piece, for example, right? Ideally, you want to use them on pieces that are really bad in really good sets that you need to complete a set. So for example, if you have 9 pieces of Merciless, just saying you somehow have 9 pieces of Merciless, but you have one really bad piece, you want to use your Chaos Ore on that set because that set is super rare. It's super rare, depending where you are in the game. If you're early or mid game, it's going to be super, super rare. But you want to use that Chaos Ore to get an extra chance at getting that rare piece, fulfilling your set, and etc., right? Now that's what I think for, you, because you're going to be limited on your chaos ores too. You want to really, really zone in on what you want to do, or what set you want to use it on. Whereas like an endgame player, if they roll a quad in a bad set, like a frost set, a sleep set, or whatever, now they can take a chance at trying to throw a chaos ore into it and then trying to get like quad speed, for example, which is like 99% what people want to do. This advice makes sense. It's just when you want to commit this strategy, right? Because if you're starting out in the game, you're not going to have a lot of chaos ores. You're not going to have a lot of silvers to bring up random items to 16. That's also another thing too. And people have told me that it's a luxury to be able to roll some of these really bad pieces to 16. Yes, it is. It does take silver, right? It does take silver. And in the beginning, you're not going to be able to have that luxury. So it is more of a, late or end game kind of strategy for the most part. All right, so 16. It's a good idea to farm Minotaurs, Labyrinth, and Potion Keeps during CVC tournaments, as that's the only tournament that gives you points for those dungeons. Yeah, that's generally pretty good advice. Minotaur doesn't give you a lot of points, but it gives you some points. So if you want to be very efficient, or the most efficient you can be with your Minotaur farming, you do it during CVC, so you can get some additional points. You also get points by buying energy and all that with your gems. So yeah, that's good advice. Same thing with the potion keeps. Usually, if you're going to be more towards the late or end game player, you don't need to farm potion keeps anymore. But farming potion keeps during CVC, it makes sense. Sometimes you actually get 2x boost on potion keeps too, so that might be a good time to farm some potions. Personally speaking, I do farm Minotaur during CVC as well. So yeah, that's pretty decent advice. Number 17, when you run into trouble with Doomtire, Cursory, Grim Forest, or other such game modes, tap the best team button and look up the global and clan rankings. You'll know what combos work that way. I think that's going to be advice that's not applicable to for 99.9% of the population. I think what is more the global rankings. The global rankings are just whatever. It's just that's not going to help anybody. That's just not going to help most people. But the clan rankings, it could be helpful. Sometimes the clan rankings can give you some ideas on what comps worked, or maybe which teams from which player in your clan actually cleared that level, and then maybe you can communicate with that clanmate and then ask them for some advice. But generally speaking, these are just for ideas, and I think the global ranking doesn't really help basically anyone. It's just kind of like, whoa, it's like more of a trophy case kind of mentality, I think, for the global one. But the clan rankings could be helpful. Number 18, here are some couple pointers about ally attacks. Your champion will attack in the order of the position of the team, starting the leader. Consider putting your debuffers ahead of other damage dealers to soften up the target, though they need to have the default skill with a chance to apply buffs. For this trick to work, also the target dies, the remaining champions will attack. If you have someone with AoE default skill, keep them in the front to cue the hitting the whole team. Yes, there is an order of how ally attack works. I'll show you guys exactly what it means. Actually, I do have a team in the background here, so I'll show you guys exactly what I mean. So the first person is the leader spot, so they will attack first. Then my Lady Mikage will attack, and then the Marius, and then the Newt, and then the Newt. So that's the order of the attack when you ally attack. It's kind of like a zigzag. So you kind of want to position them in a way so that their effects from their attacks trigger in the way that you want. So for example, maybe your first champion is a decreased defense champion. So his A1 hits, it decreases the defense of the target, and then the rest of your team can hit in while the decreased defense is under effect. That's kind of the idea of what they're talking about. For example, in this team that I have, I'm fighting the Fire Knight. The Newt will hit at the end of the ally attack train, and then his A1s will reduce the turn meter of the Fire Knight if the shield is down. So that's kind of how it works. This type of sequence also applies to the flow of damage. So if somebody hits my team, this team that's showing on the screen, it will flow in the same way that ally attackers attack. So it'll hit the leader first, and then Mikage, Marius, and then this Newt, and then that Newt. That's kind of how the damage flows. So if you have a champion that has an ability that says, for example, I'm going to use Vogoth, it's just a common one, but basically Vogoth will heal everybody when he takes damage. So what you want to do is that you want to position your entire team in front of Vogoth so that they all take damage, and then when Vogoth takes his damage, he will heal your damaged team. If you put Vogoth in the leader spot, he gets hit first, and then he heals your team, which is full health. and then basically he does nothing. So it's very important to have it, in this kind of, you have to consider the order of the way you put the team. So just something for you guys to know. You guys might not have known that, but there you go. All right, 19, don't pour resources into upgrading every legendary champion. Do your research and prioritize when you need. 100 million%. 100 million%, guys. That is something that is very important. Even if you have a good legendary, or it can extend to epics as well. But basically any champion that you build, you want to do your research. You want to be thoughtful in what you are doing with that champion. Just because they're legendary doesn't mean they're good, doesn't mean they are good for your account. And even if people say that's a good champion, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best champion for your account at that specific time. Keep that in mind, guys. This example I use all the time. Every time somebody has a seer, they always say that's the best champion. You level her up. She's going to help you clear dungeons. No, that's not true. Seer actually needs good gear and a good team around them to do anything that you see in the videos that you guys see. So Seer is one of those champions that requires a lot of thought. How are you going to use this champion? Because if you invest in Seer, she's not going to do nearly as much if you don't have the right supporting champions, if you don't have the right gear on her. But she is the example that I use for a lot of people. A lot of people consider her very good, must build, especially for dungeon progress. Not if you don't have the right support, not if you don't have the right gear. All right, number 20, always join a clan no matter your level. Be sure to take on a few clan quests during CVC tournament. It will benefit both you and your clan. Yes, 100%. You must need a clan. I'm going to double up on this and say you must need an appropriate clan for your progress. Do not handicap yourself by staying in a clan that cannot progress at the same rate that you are. You're just hurting yourself in terms of what you can collect. Yes, you might have like sentimental attachments to your clanmates and all that stuff, but unfortunately, you're making a conscious decision to limit the amount of rewards that you are getting. Number 21, the Demon Lord clan boss offers a sure path to victory. It'll be your primary source of sacred shards and by extension legendary champions. Build up your teams for Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare difficulties to make the most of it. Work on improving and perfecting your clan boss team. I'm serious, it's a huge game changer. 100%. Clan boss is one of the most important content areas, especially early on in the game. Basically, once you are able to unlock the top chest Ultra Nightmare clan boss, the game completely changes for you. Previous to this, you are not able to participate or complete anything. You're not really getting champions. You're not getting books to book out your nice new legendary champions. But now that you have the Ultra Nightmare clan boss chest, the top chest, you'll be able to farm shards. You'll be able to get books. You'll be able to do all this stuff. You'll be able to participate. You'll be able to save for events. You'll be able to build up your champions. It's a completely different game, guys. So 100% prioritize Ultra Nightmare clan boss, especially in the beginning. So if you are hurting for progression or you don't know where to go, just look at your clan boss. Do you have the Ultra Nightmare clan boss on farm? If you don't, that's where you're gonna go. Number 22, don't build your teams for raw damage numbers alone. It's often better to have one dedicated damage dealer with support champions who can use things like decreased defense, increased attack, augment the damage dealer's output in other ways. I mean, that makes sense, right? Build a balanced team. Sometimes a team with one damage dealer and 4 supports is better than 4 damage dealers and 1 support. It kind of makes sense. Build a balanced team. Make sure you have what it takes to go through the content you're going through, for example. Bring proper buffs, bring proper debuffs. And yeah, that's just comes down to basic roster, what your roster can field in terms of teams. That makes sense. Number 23, don't underestimate poison, HP burn. They're often more effective than skills that deal flat damage. Poison HP burn is going to be a huge damage contributor, for accounts that are just starting out in the game. The other one would be Brimstone, which comes from a blessing. Those types of damage outputs are going to be very good because you don't need necessarily great gear for them. You just need accuracy to land them, and they do a ton of damage. Later on, when your gear is really, really good and you have tons of ignore defense and all that stuff, as an endgame player, poisons and HP burns, they just don't do as much as what you can do with just great gear. So in the beginning, HP burn and poisons definitely is a go-to for damage. Number 24, synergize and champion speed. Why attack early if the same attack will hit much harder with correct buffs? So I guess they're trying to say like speed tune your team or have a proper tune team. So for example, you don't want your damage dealer attacking and then all your buffers going afterwards or all your debuffers going afterwards. So you want to make sure that your buffs happen before your attack, your decreased defense happens before your attack. And yeah, that totally makes sense. And the last one, this game isn't about legendaries. Many rare and epic champions rock. Oh yeah, and don't forget mythicals are also in the game too. So, we kind of went over it. The rare champions are going to lose a lot of value in this game very early. If you invest heavily in rare champions early on, I think you're going to sandbag your account a little bit. The epic champions, epics have aged relatively well. They're still pretty useful. Some of them are still very good, still very used in a lot of areas. You're gonna get a lot of value from them, a lot of runway. But you know, it's gonna come down to legendaries. But if you're early in the game, it's gonna be hard to get legendary books. So leaning on epics definitely makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't say so much leaning on rares, just because, like I said, rares will get phased out relatively quickly. And then if you're going to do masteries with the 6-star on rares, it's really tough. The only rare that I can honestly recommend from start to finish would be Cold Heart. Because Cold Heart, you'll get a lot of play from her in the beginning, as well as into the late or early end game. All right, and that's it. Most importantly, just have fun at the end of the day and don't give Raid any money. No, I'm just kidding. Just have fun at the end of the day and enjoy the grind. No matter what you might have missed out on, remember, it's just a game. You'll get there sooner or later, probably later, but it's a fun trip. They have a disclaimer here. Keep in mind that the advice we collected has been edited. However, this is a player-generated content suggested and voted on by other raiders. I have no idea where they got this content from, which is interesting. So I don't mean to offend anybody about the advice here, but I'm just giving my 2 cents on it as a 6+ year player of the game. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching until the end. I think it was a pretty informative video, actually just covering all these different points, either agreeing or disagreeing. I think for the most part, I agree with a lot of it. There's a couple parts where I really am animate about this correctiveness and just general advice for people starting in the game. It's obviously very catered towards newer players, probably just to help them out a little bit. Newer players finding information in this game, it's a freaking, what is it? It's ridiculous. There's an ocean out there and you have like a bucket, right? It's just ridiculous. So it does cover some key points here, but we'll keep it short. We'll keep it short for this video. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about these tips. Do you guys have any other very, very strong tips that you guys can give towards newer players? That would be actually really, really helpful. Do you guys have any corrections on these tips, that you guys have? Or if you guys have any corrections for what I said about these tips, that would be really, really helpful for me to know as well. I thought this was a pretty fun exercise. When I read this a couple days ago, I was just like, I don't know who's going to really benefit from this. But after reading it and just discussing it in this video, I think it is important for a lot of people to actually have this as a reminder. And yeah, hopefully this was helpful for you guys. If you guys enjoyed the content, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. I do appreciate that. And it does help me out. Thank you guys so much for watching until the end. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.